Hi, welcome back to Detective and Mystery Fiction. If you enjoy my content, please consider hitting the like button. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm notices me. Thubway Tham Rides in Style by Johnston McCulley, author of the Terry Trimble stories. Detective Story Magazine, January 6, 1920. At the well-known touch on his shoulder, Thubway Tham turned slowly, suspicion in his glance, to find Detective Craddock looking down at him. "Must I see your ugly face every day?" Thubway Tham was eager to know. "You are always taking the joy out of life. This is a business matter, Tham." "You haven't got a thing on me," Tham declared with some heat. "I have been walking the straight and narrow path." "You mean you've been riding in the subway regularly and lifting letters," said Craddock. "But that is neither here nor there at the present writing." "I did not mean to imply, old-timer, that I wish to remonstrate with you regarding transgressions of your own." "You talk like a lecture," Thubway Tham complained. "Rent a room in Carnegie Hall, rent the whole place." All jokes aside, as the man said when he threw down a copy of The Theme Fitter's Guide to Knowledge, "What is the meaning of this burst of eloquence?" "I would have a word with you, Tham," Craddock declared. "You would? You would have a word?" Thubway Tham snorted, glancing around as if to call the trees in Madison Square Park to witness that it was not his fault if he held conversation with such a one. "What particular word?" Tham wanted to know, cocking his cap over one eye and preparing for a possible battle of wits. "Know a chap who goes under the name of Sly Luke?" Craddock asked. "It seems to me that I have heard such a name," Tham admitted. "Sly Luke, my dear Tham, at present occupies the suite of honor in a hostelry in Chicago." "Is he drunk or crazy?" "He occupies said suite from compulsion, Tham, and the hostelry is a jail." "Oh, I grasp you now. Time was when this Sly Luke put himself outside the pale of the law. Talk sense. In other words, Tham, as you know very well, Sly Luke was wanted by the well-known police. Not being satisfied with that, this same Sly Luke played both ends against the middle, if you gather my meaning, and tried to square himself in one quarter by double-crossing some of his pals. I heard about that. In short, Tham, he wasn't an honest crook. He made up to his foes and betrayed his friends and double-crossed them both. Now we have this fine gent in a cell out in Chicago. He was caught on a train going through a suitcase not his own. The poor simp. And despite his photograph, he declares that he is not Sly Luke. We never had his fingerprints from the old days, unfortunately, and the photo is old, and his face has changed to a degree. He claims to be an honest boy gone wrong in a moment of temptation and seeks to get out on parole. Naturally, we are eager to show up his record. Of course. And I am taking to Chicago a couple of men who can swear to his identity. You are one of them, Tham. Is that so? It'll give you a chance to help square things with a dishonest crook who betrayed his pals, and it will help me. We can go to work and prove his identity, all right, but it will take time and a lot of trouble. I'll see to it that the lawyer doesn't ask you naughty questions concerning you and your own past life. Me go to Chicago? No thanks. In a way, it is your duty, Tham. There are ways of forcing you to go. Of course, but how much better would it be for you to come along with me in a friendly fashion and make a sort of pleasure trip out of it? All expenses paid, Tham, and fees for being a witness. A day to go, a day there, and one to come back. That's all. Coming along, Tham? Thubway Tham considered for a moment, while he told himself the trip to Chicago would be an excellent break in the monotony of things. He'd go and have a fine vacation at someone else's expense. "When do we start?" he asked with an air of resignation. Craddock had spoken the truth, and Thubway Tham found that, after one day in Chicago, he was free to return to New York and his beloved subway. Detective Craddock was forced to remain in the Western City, however, because of another case. You'll have to go back alone, Tham, unless you want to wait a week, Craddock said. Get your money, all right? Yes, sir. And I think I'll go right back, Tham said. This climate does not agree with me. Well, behave yourself, Tham. There's the ticket office, and you'd better arrange for your reservation. I'll see you later in the big town. I suppose so. Tham had enjoyed the trip west as much as he had anticipated, but he was anxious to get back, so he went to the ticket office at once. Almost immediately he discovered several interesting things, principally that the railroads did not seem to care whether they had customers or not, and that getting accommodations in a Pullman eastbound was a task that called for time and patience, and that a man really should have with him a passport and birth certificate. Not a thing, not even an upper, in today's trains, the man behind the counter told Thubway Tham, glancing through the window the while, as if it annoyed him to have atoms of the general public ask questions. Do I have to stay in this town? Tham demanded. Is that the way this town grows? You get people here and won't let them get out again. With all the trains there are, it seems to me getting a berth ought to be a cinch. A man would think I was trying to hire a private car. My goodness. And then fate stepped in and sent Thubway Tham on a new adventure. There appeared a gentleman who explained rapidly that he had tickets and a compartment on one of the road's famous crack trains, that there was sudden illness in his family, and that the trip was off. He wanted to turn back the tickets, and did, and Thubway Tham found himself with a compartment, Chicago to New York, on a train leaving within the hour. Tham grumbled a little at the price, but decided it was worth it to get back to New York inside 24 hours. He wasn't sure what a compartment was, but he knew it had class and style. He regretted that certain of his cronies would not see him in all his glory, like breeds like. Thubway Tham felt suddenly prosperous and prominent. He surrendered his grip to a porter and followed him down the track beside the famous train. Another porter took the grip, and Tham tipped the first royally and followed the second aboard. The porter opened a door and ushered Tham into the compartment, bowed and retired. Tham closed the door and scratched at his head. The way he understood it, he had this entire apartment to himself. It was exclusive and all that, yet Tham yearned to mingle with the throng. Then he remembered that there was a club car ahead, and that he could go there when he wished. The train started, and Thubway Tham, sitting close to the window, reveled in a vista of smoke, cinders, chimneys, and cluttered factory yards. Presently the door opened, and Tham turned his head to find a maid standing in it. "Ladies in the party?" she asked. "No," Tham growled. She bowed and stepped out, closing the door after her. Tham turned to the window again. Once more the door opened. This time it was the porter. "May I be of any assistance, sir?" the porter asked. Before Tham could answer, he began being of assistance. He put Tham's overcoat on a hanger, brushed Tham's hat, enclosed it in a paper sack, turned off the heat and turned on the fan, flecked a speck of dust from the wash basin, rubbed fitfully at the mirror over it, bowed and retired. "My goodness," said Tham, sighing. There was quiet for a time, and then the conductor entered. He bowed before Tham and examined his tickets, took them up, and gave him a claim check. "I trust that you are comfortable, and that everything is satisfactory," the conductor said. "Everything is all right," Tham admitted. The conductor disappeared quickly and silently, and Thubway Tham scratched at his head and sought words to express what he felt. There was one word, and one only, that seemed to fit. "Class," he muttered, then repeated, "Class." He had purchased a newspaper before boarding the train, and now he began glancing it over. The door opened again. A man stood before Tham, notebook and pencil in hand. "Your name, please, in case there is a telegram," the man said. "There will be no telegram," Tham declared. "Your name, then, for the list, in case you have friends aboard." "Of course, sir, if you are incognito," Tham could not remember what incognito meant, so he merely looked mysterious. The man with the notebook bowed. "I understand, sir. Sorry to have bothered you," he said, and retired quickly. Outside, he met the porter of the car. "Who's that bird in there?" he whispered. "I've seen his picture in the papers all right, and he seems to be working his brain overtime. Wants to be incognito, wouldn't give me his name." The porter looked as if he knew but could not tell, and immediately began considering Thubway Tham. The porter wondered whether he was overlooking a bet. Tham did not look particularly prosperous or appear like a famous man, but one never can tell. The porter had known millionaires who looked like tramps and eccentric famous people who had been given to their little mannerisms. He would pay particular attention to the compartment occupied by Thubway Tham. Tham came out at that juncture, and the porter hurried forward. "Is the club car ahead?" Tham asked. "Yes, sir." The porter walked the entire length of the car, opened the door, bowed as if before royalty, and held the door back while Thubway Tham passed out. Tham soon reached the club car and found there was no vacant seat. In one corner, a businessman was dictating to a stenographer. In another, 4 men were playing cards. Tham looked on for a time and decided that he did not know the game. He managed to get a chair presently and went on looking at his newspaper. "Class," he muttered once or twice. Just class. Yet Tham felt uncomfortable in this atmosphere. These men appeared as if riding on a crack train was an everyday affair with them. They did not seem to appreciate their surroundings, Thubway Tham thought. And then he began speculating professionally. These men were of the sort that carry fat wallets. Thubway Tham found himself wishing that this was a subway train just pulling into some busy station, and that he could do his nefarious work. But he put all such thoughts aside. He had learned years before that the subway was lucky for him and that other places were inclined to harbor disaster. Tham journeyed the length of the train to the diner after a time and enjoyed an excellent meal. Then he went back to his compartment. The porter had been busy removing invisible specks of dust. He sprang forward and opened the door when Tham appeared. "If you would like your suit sponged and pressed, sir, just put it outside on the railing," the porter said. Thubway Tham scratched at his head again. Class. After all, when a man got a compartment, he got something. The service was worth the money, Tham decided, and the porter was a good one. Tham put his suit outside that night and his shoes also and turned in to sleep well. In the morning, he found his suit pressed as well as it could have been, and his shoes had a heavy polish. Tham shaved and dressed with care. "That is a good porter, and he is going to get a good tip," Tham mumbled. He sat close to the window after eating breakfast and looked at the river. Tham was beginning to feel at home. An hour more, and he would be in the subway, bound downtown. He would sniff its peculiar odor again, see the jostling crowds, and hear the racket of the rushing trains. He would be home. The train neared the station. The porter came for his bag, carried it forward, and returned to brush Tham's clothes and hold his overcoat for him. Tham was glad for the excellent porter. He had a burst of generosity. The service was worthy of reward, Tham decided. He felt in a waistcoat pocket, extracted $2 bills, and handed them to the servitor, receiving generous thanks. "That is not so bad," Tham reflected. "He pressed my suit and shined my shoes. It would cost me that much in town. This is great service." Tham glanced from the window again and found that the train was almost in. He got up and walked to the door, opened it, and stepped out into the passageway. The porter stopped before him in an attitude of apology. "Beg pardon, sir, but the suit," he said. $1.50, sir." "Oh," grunted Thubway Tham. He found the change and handed it over, and the porter went on with his collecting. Thubway Tham grunted again. He had not expected to pay for the suit. Had he anticipated such a thing, he would not have given the porter those $2. He saw the maid walking along the passageway and saw several women hand her tips. Tham had not needed her services, yet she paused before him suggestively. He would have looked away, but was aware of the fact that several persons in the car were watching him. He handed the maid $50 and grunted again. "It is a great graft," Thubway Tham told himself. "I'm glad that I am an honest pickpocket. These birds would make a burglar blush for shame. I wish I could get me a job on this train. Lifting leathers is slow work." Another man came bustling along the passageway, he of the pencil and notebook. Tham observed that the passengers tipped him and turned back into the compartment. But it availed him nothing. The man with the notebook entered. "List fee, please, sir," he said. "What is that?" Tham demanded. 50 cents, please, sir." "You did not put my name on that list," Thubway Tham reminded him. "No, sir. You are incognito, sir. But the list was in the club car, sir, for you to read." Tham handed over another $50. He felt his anger rising. Great graft. He reminded himself again. Paying $14 or $15 for a compartment for 24 hours was not a receipt, he decided. It was paying for the privilege of handing out change endlessly. It cost money to ride in style. The train stopped, and Tham went forward and descended to the platform. A porter tore his bag from his hand and hurried away with it, and Tham spurted after him. "Taxi, sir?" The porter threw over his shoulder. "No, sir," Tham growled. He was on his own ground now, and bravery returned to him. "Subway." "Subway, sir?" the porter asked in great surprise. His manner of saying it indicated plainly that the subway was used only for cattle and hogs. "I said the subway, and I meant the subway," Tham declared. "I did not say the elevated, nor the surface car, nor a taxi. I said the subway. You get me?" "Yes, sir." "Here's your bag, sir." The porter surrendered it as though it had been contamination and looked at Tham suspiciously. "And how much?" Tham asked. "Do you think you are going to graft off me for carrying that bag 50 feet? Here is a $50, and you are cheating me out of 48 cents. I hope you are a member of the Crooks Union in good standing. Let me tell you something, boy. Never let me catch any of this gang below 14th Street. That is all. Stay away from my end of town. You'll be so much ahead if you do." His face purpled with anger. Thubway Tham went on toward the subway platform. He felt that he had been had, and it just occurred to him that possibly all the attendants on the train had been playing him for an easy mark. The thought disturbed him. "Every man to his own game," said Tham. "Maybe I am a crook, but I am no hold-up man. After this, when I want to ride in one of them compartments, I'll buy a private car. It is cheaper." He reached the platform and waited for a downtown train. Once more he felt the well-known touch on his shoulder and, knowing that Detective Craddock remained in Chicago, whirled around with some surprise in his face. It was another detective who knew him. "Been taking a little trip?" the officer wanted to know. "Chicago," said Tham, as a man who admits a weakness. "Business or pleasure? Got anything in that grip that would interest me, Tham?" Tham put the grip down and rested his fists against his hips. He shot his jaw forward in a pugnacious manner. "Say," he declared, "you make me sick. I have been in Chicago, yes, on business. I have been there with Craddock as a witness in the case of Sly Luke. Craddock had to stay there for another case, and I came home alone. And if you start pestering me, I'll see the commissioner about it. It is your job to look for crooks, so why waste your time with me when there are Pullman porters thick around this place? You want to see a real crook? You want to lamp the finest collection of crooks that ever held a convention? Then you stand right here and watch all the burglars that run on those trains. When it comes to being crooks, they have all the class in the world. I'll say so. You seem to be peeved, Tham." "Who? Me? I'll say I'm peeved. I don't even like to talk about it," Tham declared. "And I don't want to be pestered by you." "All right, old boy, just so I understand what you're doing around the station here. I happen to know that you went to Chicago with Craddock. Did they stick Sly Luke?" "I didn't wait to see," Tham declared, as if he didn't care to tell this fellow all he knew. "I wanted to get back to town." "Well, watch your step. It is a peculiar thing, Tham, but some men hate to have their wallets stolen. Say, just because I was sent up the river once." "Cut the comedy," the detective advised, and moved on through the crowd. Tham's talk with the detective had caused him to miss several downtown expresses, and now he decided to wait for another. A local, Tham felt, could not travel with sufficient speed to suit him at present. He stood back from the track, his bag between his feet, watching the crowd. He had no intention of working. He wanted to get home to his room. Tomorrow he would go forth and seek victims. But a job was thrust upon him. A fresh crowd surged forward, and Thubway Tham looked it over. And he saw the porter of the car in which he had ridden from Chicago to New York. Moreover, it appeared that the porter was intending to ride downtown. Thubway Tham looked at him well. To say that he was fashionably dressed would be inaccurate. The mode of the moment was his. Thubway Tham told himself that the porter looked like $1 million, and that he did not see why he shouldn't. And then thoughts of revenge came to Thubway Tham. He worked nearer the porter, and when the downtown express arrived, Tham boarded it 6 feet behind the other man. He was glad to find that the car was crowded. It would be justice to get his roll, Tham declared to himself. He is a crook of the worst sort. He robs men and women right and left, the ass. He poses as an honest man, and he is the biggest robber unhung, the simp. Thubway Tham made his way forward until he stood just in the rear of his prospective victim. He could tell by the porter's manner that he did not intend leaving the train soon. That pleased Tham, for he liked to do his work far downtown if it was at all possible. The porter did not turn around. Tham managed to brush against him, and discovered that the porter carried a wallet in his hip pocket. That was an invitation, the way Thubway Tham looked at it. Any man who carried a wallet in a hip pocket, Tham thought, was openly requesting every dip in town to obtain possession of it. Below Union Square, the porter acted as if he intended leaving the train. Tham crowded forward again until he was pressing against his victim. The porter grasped the grip he carried and moved toward the door, with Tham at his heels. The station was reached. The door was opened. Those inside the car jammed forward to the platform. Thubway Tham's hand made a quick movement, and the wallet of the porter was in a pocket of Tham's coat. He went on past his victim and hurried up to the street. "The simp," Tham growled. "It is a pleasure to touch that man. I hope there is his month's wages in that leather." "The suit, sir, $1.50, sir." "Ha!" Thubway Tham hurried down the street and to the lodging house he called home. The former convict who ran it greeted him warmly and asked after the fate of Sly Luke. Tham told the lodging house keeper his trip to Chicago had been a failure from Craddock's point of view, for he couldn't identify the person called Sly Luke. As he hurried on to his room, he winked knowingly, and the ex-convict understood. Tham wouldn't have gone back on one of his craft for any consideration. Up in his room, he flung his hat on the bed and locked the door. He pulled the wallet from his pocket. It felt like a fat wallet. Tham grinned as he turned back the flap and prepared to count the bills he was sure it contained. An instant later he gave a grunt of huge disgust. The wallet contained Pullman Porter's report blanks, and nothing more. Tham hurled it the length of the room. "Stung," he hissed, "and by a simp. I hope he has 7 years of bad luck, the silly ass. And I hope I have the same if I ever ride in a compartment again." "The suit, sir, $1.50, sir. I must be getting old, like Craddock said." Tham kicked at the wallet, then opened the window and threw it down into the alley. His heart was filled with bitterness. It was a world of greed and graft, he told himself, in which an ordinary decent crook could not hope to exist without being victimized. "To think that the police would bother me," he mused, "and not go after porters. It is a shame, Just for that, I'll go out tomorrow and lift a dozen leathers. And if Craddock ever gets me to Chicago again, he'll have to use a straitjacket. It is a rotten world. End of Thubway Tham Rides in Style by Johnston McCulley.